on too much, you do too much. I think I was operating on adrenaline for so many years that I didn't have an opportunity to really take a breath and really feel that burnout. But once I did, it hit. So you really have to be able to conscious to conserve your energy. I think that when it is your own business, you know, you got to manage your energy. Things will happen, multiple things will happen in a day, even today, that I got to make sure that, you know, I don't have that reaction that's like at 100, you know, because coming down from that reaction of 100 is exhausting. And then I've burnt that energy and I could have used it on something else. It's really hard to temper that when the business is your baby, this is your idea, this is something that you fostered and you've nurtured, and things don't go properly. But man, you gotta really temper that energy so that you can use it towards something else that's gonna propel you. So, you know, being kind of mindful of not overworking. Sometimes, you know, working those late nights might be helpful and necessary in the beginning, but you just can't really sustain that and be effective. That's at least what I've learned and I've found. And the other thing that I really needed to learn was how to delegate. And so, you know, not wanting to do everything myself, you know, wanting everything so perfect. And so how do you delegate? I had to build trust in the people that I was hiring and make sure that I felt confident to delegate to them. So I really will seek out people who are better than I am at things. Like I said, my COO, he's an operations guru. He has implemented a tech stack for us last year that gives clients access to their case 24/7 via an app of ours. We have videos on there that explain every step of the process. That's stuff that I don't even have the brain power mindset to do. He's thinking on a different level. I have my intake specialist here. He is super connected with his community. He is a Latino male, young, energetic. He can go to so many more happy hours and meet people and hang out and is likable and is friendly. And it's like, I got a battery that just, 7 o'clock, we're shutting it off. So you got to find people that do things better than you. And I think that delegation and building trust was super important for me. So.
With the burnout, let's kind of, because and this happens to a lot of business owners, when you start the business, all this stuff that you've talked about so far, it's fun the first couple months. Mm-hmm. And you don't mind doing it till 2 a.m. and waking up at 5 a.m. and starting all over with a smile on your face because you're working for yourself. How were you able to, especially with 2 young children, create some sort of balance, not allow your clients, other people to expect you to be on 24/7? How did it take time to establish these are my working hours, these are my off hours?
Yeah, I definitely am guilty of that. I feel like for an entrepreneur, for me, I would equate it to, it's like a drug. It's fun, you get those high, I'm not a drug user, by the way, but what I would imagine you feel, it's like you're so passionate about it, you just want to keep going. That's what I would think an entrepreneur feels like when they are starting their business. And I think I wrote it more than just months. I wrote it for years where I just didn't want to stop. I was checking my email. I was signing up the cases. I was settling the cases. I was talking to the adjusters. I was talking to the clients. All these things were going on. And so for me, I really needed to set some real deep boundaries. And I probably started that a little too late. I had people call, the whole firm was running through my cell phone until last February. So if you can imagine, 2019, incorporated my business, February of last year, that's finally when I gave up the phone number. I was like, I'm not giving this phone number up. I'm gonna be answering every single call. I wanna talk to everyone. My biggest marketing point was the accessibility. So it was like, hey, yeah, all those guys on the billboards that you're never gonna talk to, just my cell phone, call me, I'll talk to you right away. And people would be shocked. They'd be like, oh my gosh, like you're the lawyer, you're the person? I'm like, yeah, why would I not be? So to put that boundary in and actually have my own private number, port that number over to the law firm, that was a really big deal. And so little things like that, setting those boundaries, also like before coming to this event today, I had something for my daughter at 9:30 to 10. It was a learning celebration at her school. It's like, I'm not going to miss that, I'm going to be there for her. And so really just trying to set those boundaries. I think that clients, at least in my field, they respect you more. So, yes, I was trying to market the accessibility. Yes, that's great. And yes, I can give that to them during hours of operation. But at the same time, they don't need to be talking to me on Saturday at 8 p.m. We're going to have systems in place, and they're going to have somebody to talk to if they need help, but it's not going to be me.
And it is Women's History Month this month, so I am going to ask one quick question about this, just real quick. The idea of, and you've mentioned the guys in the billboards a couple of times, do you think there's different expectations in the legal field for a female law firm owner, female lawyer, than there is for a male lawyer?
I think so. I saw a meme the other day, and it was a female that posted it that said, man, I wish I had a wife at home that took care of everything, the house, the kids, the meals, the shopping, I think that we are expected to do it all as women. I think we oftentimes do rise to the occasion. Perhaps we put a lot of that pressure on ourselves too. I do think that we bring something unique, at least to this area that I'm in of law. That's something that I saw that was lacking in this area of personal injury, was I felt that there was no nurturing, no empathy, no compassion towards the client, and that's what I had sought out to create a niche in. I just felt like, I'm a mom, I care about my clients, I want them to do well, and so for me it was very organic and natural to feel that way about them. And I saw that a lot of men in the law were very sterile, cold, didn't really care about how their clients were feeling and or treating after an accident. So I just really honed in on that niche and just capitalized on it. So, it's a balancing act to be a female in a male-dominated industry, but I think that we're definitely making strides. So, changing the industry.
Thank goodness. I'm also going to, you started talking about hiring. Did you consider when you were first hiring any family or friends? And if you didn't, what's your take on businesses that start by hiring friends and family?
It's really tough. I will say that I don't go and seek out friends and family to hire. I think that sometimes it can, obviously I had an ex-husband that I founded a law firm with, so that really jaded me for a long time. So I was like, I'm not hiring any friends, any family, forget it. But at the same time, you also have to look at their skill set. So my COO is my significant other, and man, we had trepidation in working together for a long time. But again, he's got a skill set that I don't. I don't think that I can find someone like him. He's got that skill set. I can trust him, and I know that he has my back and my best interests in mind. So I feel like you can't necessarily take maybe a bad experience in the past and let it stifle you from maybe growth. And so I think that you just have to look at it by case scenario. Sometimes you do find people through resources, connections, and it's better to have someone that's vetted from someone that you know than just a random applicant off the street that you have no idea what their background is. So I think you just have to be discerning and make sure you hire slow and you fire fast. So that's always my formula.
That was my other question. The firing fast thing, it's tough sometimes, but how do you make that leap? Because a lot of the things you've talked about, you delegate, you've created the processes. Do you try and give that person, I'm going to give them one last chance. I'm going to see if they can pick it. I must be training wrong. And you keep people longer than you should keep them.
Yes, I have 2 firing stories that I experienced. The first hire that I had, she was my paralegal. She was a superstar. She could do it all. She was so great. And then a few years passed and I felt like she kind of wasn't taking it seriously. Some life stuff started happening. I kept making excuses. She was going through a divorce too. So I was like, God, I can't fire a single mom. I was her. I am her. How am I going to do that? So I let her be there for probably too long. And it didn't matter how many things I tried to do, how many allowances, how many let's, get this together. It just wasn't working out to my detriment and the firm's detriment. And so ultimately I had to make the decision to fire her, which was really hard for me. That was really hard for me because I felt so connected to her in life experiences. I had another one where I brought this person on. They'd worked for a great law firm in Georgia. And it was so hard for me to let go of him, but I started getting feedback from clients where they weren't happy with how he was treating them. I think he had felt a little bit too entitled. Once that entitlement hits, it's like cancer. You gotta cut it out, otherwise it spreads like a wildfire in your firm. That was really hard for me to let him go because again, I get close to my team. I really, we're in this together. I really have built a culture in our firm. I want to be there personally. If I'm going to be away from my kids and spend all this time with people, I want to like them. So we generally are close. And so it's hard to say goodbye to someone that has been that close to you. I had to let him go. We ended on really positive terms. To this day, he texts me. He texted me last week, So it's just sometimes you don't have to be the bad guy. You can still have amicable terms after. And I think I learned that. I want to please people. I want to make them happy. I never want to be the bad guy. And so I think I had to overcome that fear of that and just say, okay, what's the best thing for the business, and just fire when you have to fire.
Doesn't make it easier, but you got to do it sometimes.
Yeah, you got to do it. So that's part of being a business owner. You have to do the unsexy tasks that nobody wants to do and have the uncomfortable conversations that nobody wants to have so you can progress and keep going. So just to kind of conclude, again, the plane's never finished. I'm just thinking about the things that we were talking about this morning. Our marketing that we're doing on Facebook isn't really landing like I had hoped. We had started this campaign in late 2025. We took it through, we're still doing it through March of 2026 here. And I'm like, looking at the data and looking at the numbers, I don't think it's really resonating with people. I don't think we're converting leads. So again, something that I thought was going to be so great, so successful, we spent a ton of money on, now we're having to pivot and change it. So it's like you're constantly building this plane while it's in the sky, while you're flying it forward. You're always testing data, changing things, hiring people, firing people, restructuring things. We're restructuring the way our case managers are handling cases. I just sent them standard operating procedures that I revised for them, and just trying to be more efficient all the time. You're just constantly hacking at it and working towards making your business better.
I'm going to do a couple questions.
All right, so we were talking about hiring and firing, and as students, we're looking for jobs, stuff like that. So I wanted to ask you, what are the values you look for or the skill set that you look for in people that you hire, and what gets them fired?
This is so important. I always tell people, I can teach you the job, but if you suck as a person, I can't teach you that. I can teach my 11-year-old daughter how to process an injury claim. She's heard me on the phone enough times. So at our firm, we'll do an interview, generally on Zoom, just to kind of get a feel for the person. Then we'll have them come in for a second interview, and we're talking about their experience and what they've done in the past. That third interview that we have, we call it our vibe check interview. And that's when I have our whole team sit in and just ask questions of the candidate and see if they are vibing with them. And last year, we almost hired an attorney. I was so desperate to get a pre-litigation attorney. I'd probably been looking 5 months for one. And we had a female candidate, and I had her be vibe checked. And my case manager that has been working with me the longest said, I don't like her. I think she's dominating. I think she's a little aggressive. And my case manager is really nice. So when she said that to me, it was like a red flag. And I'm like, nope, we're not going to hire her. And it was such a right decision. So I feel like the personality, the camaraderie, the person willing to be a team player, those qualities are to me more important than, oh, I've been handling personal injury claims for 15 years and I know how to do these like in my sleep. I think the personality traits are what really makes the difference.
What's the trait you look for when hiring?
I want someone who's not selfish. I think that's so important. It comes in so many different areas. You know, if you see someone struggling, walking through the front door and they're carrying a bunch of stuff and you just kind of, you know, dip in and you make sure you get yourself in and you don't hold that door, like that's kind of a shitty personality trait. And that's going to carry through everything. It's for sure going to carry through to the client that you're talking on the phone mostly with, who's crying that they can't work, that they have a broken limb, that they have to go to the doctor, right? Like, how can I expect that employee or that team member to be empathetic to that client if they literally are like watching their coworker that they see every single day struggling and they're just like, peace. To me, the selfishness is like very key.
And let's talk a minute of the stuff you do outside the office. How'd you get started with the community work you do, and why is that so important to you? And what does it bring back? I know you don't do it for the returns,
Yeah.
but how does it benefit you?
To me, that's like the true measure of, okay, I've built a successful business, right? Because you're not just like in that grind on how to keep building your business. You can actually take time to step away from your business, to plan an event, to put money towards something that might not generate a return. So once I was able to do that, for me, that was huge. It was like, dang, like, I made it. I did something good. We can actually give back. So that backpack drive was super important to me. On a personal level, you know, when I was going through my divorce, I was living on credit cards. I had all of my finances were completely locked up. I didn't have access to my money. I was living on credit cards with like 25% interest, putting basic things on there, like groceries and my kids' preschool tuition, stuff like that. And so giving back to kids whose families have even worse circumstances than I had, that to me was so important. We had a mom last year get a backpack for her daughter who said, I'm so grateful for this. She probably wouldn't have had all the school supplies she needed because her dad died last year and it's just me taking care of all of these kids and I can't afford this. So, I mean, I'm telling you, like I told my team at that backpack drive before it, I was like, I hope I just don't start crying because I'm such an emotional person and I can feel their pain and their stories. And when she's telling us that, it's like, wow. And then you just want to keep doing more of that. Right? It's like help one person, help 5, help 10, 500, 1,000, and you just try to keep growing it from there. So for me, that's the fun part of the business.
Then last year you expanded that into your scholarship.
Yeah, we did.
Talk a little bit about that, because these people should all pay attention and apply next fall when you do it again, hopefully.
For sure. I will say that we didn't have a ton of applicants, which is crazy. So like the free money that is being advertised as $17K that they're willing to give you, like take it. Look for those little things. I think law firms especially a lot are looking to do outreach, whether it's with entrepreneurs or students or scholarships. Check those things out in your local community, apply for them. It's not hard. I mean, it's not hard. It was a very short written essay about what, you know, they wanted their business to be and their idea, and it was just free money. So take advantage of that.
I have to wear my tennis shoes today.
Okay, so you mentioned that you are a very empathetic person. So how do you manage to, I guess, separate feeling really emotionally attached, whether it's like to clients or to like your coworkers? I guess what I'm asking is like, how do you not like blur the line?
It's hard. It is really hard for me because I really feel like my team is my family. You know, I want the best for them. I want them to succeed. And so, you know, the first paralegal that I had to fire, you know, she and I were besties. We were getting our nails done. We were going, you know, hanging out with the kids. She had a son that was about my kids' age. And so I did have to dial that back. I think that definitely blurred the lines because, you know, she started saying like, hey, I don't have to work today. I'm just going to work tomorrow and it'll be all right. And so I think that you, at the end of the day, you still are the boss and you have to have that line. With clients too, you know, clients will call, they'll want to be heard, you know, that day. Let's say they're not even an active existing client, but they're a former client. Any kind of legal question that they have, they'll want to reach out to you and they'll want to speak with you that day. It's hard. You want to get back to them as soon as possible, make sure that they always have you as a resource, but as you grow and you scale and you have more responsibilities, I've learned, you know, sometimes just sending them like a calendar invite to let them know, like, it's not going to be today, it's going to be Thursday. They tend to understand. It's just really you have to hold the boundaries, and that's my own struggle that I have to deal with daily.
So I'm a marketing major, and you were
cool.
talking about your marketing project that you were doing on Facebook and how you had to improvise after it.
Yep.
And I ask this question to every speaker, and I take notes. I'm gonna make a story time about it on TikTok, but my question for you is, what is your best social media marketing advice or any kind of marketing advice for us? I personally am a musician. I'm doing social media. I'm on TikTok, trying to make the songs blow up, whatever. So any advice I can get works. I'm thankful for. Yeah.
I think you just have to keep putting the content out there. Sometimes it is so exhausting. I saw a post this morning from a colleague of mine in California, and she said, damn, I just don't feel like putting the content out sometimes. You just have to keep putting it out. It doesn't matter how many likes, how many views, it really does not matter. Someone is seeing it. And I'll tell you, when I first started doing my content, it was on a tripod with the little ring light that I ordered on Amazon, and I had a senior attorney that we office shared. He's like in his 50s. He's a huge trial attorney. You know, and I would do the countdown, 3 seconds, okay, get ready, and I'm all like ready to film this content. He just walks in and opens the door, and he's like, oh, that's so cute. You're filming your cute little content again. And guess what? I send that guy cases today. So I'm like, oh, do you want this case? Do you want a co-counsel on this case? Do you want to do a referral fee split? Guess how those cases came to me? TikTok, Instagram. I'm like, thank you. So just keep putting it out. People are going to laugh. People are going to say it's cringe. People are going to doubt you. Most of the time, what I think it is their actual insecurity that you're doing something that they're afraid to even try. That's what I have truly seen it be.
And how many times with social media do you put something out and like you're thinking to yourself, this is the one that's going viral?
Oh, yeah.
And then it doesn't. But the one you're like, well, it's the only one I got for today. I'm going to put it out. And that thing just blows up.
It's the content that is organic, that's in your car, that's raw, that's not pretty. I feel like that's the one that performs the best. And the one that we have a content day organized where I'm like gonna get my hair and my makeup done and make sure I'm all suited up and have the perfect lighting and the videographer and he's gonna edit this. That content, it just doesn't perform as well. People wanna see real, raw, in the moment, in the car, at the grocery store with your hands shaking. Like, that's what they really wanna see. That's what I like to watch. I love to watch that kind of content. So put that content out. I feel like people really like it.
Okay. Make sure there were no other hands up. On your notes you gave me, you talked a little bit about leadership. And I want to get into that more with you because we are not only trying to teach students, we're trying to create leaders. Doesn't mean necessarily you open your own business, but talk a little bit about how you've grown as a leader. You've done things, you take on things, and you also are in a position where you hire, like you said at the beginning, very smart people that can excel beyond where they are today, and you're comfortable with that, which is rare in leadership. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I definitely think you're not born a leader. I think you have skills or qualities of a leader at birth, but you have to perfect the leadership qualities as you grow your business. So like, what are some traits that a leader has? You know, I'll watch in my kids too. Confidence. You know, my daughter, she'll go talk to just some random person at the bank. We're in there, we're depositing checks, we're doing transactions for the law firm. I take them, I like them to see the behind the scenes of the business, you know? This is an accessible business to you too. You can create your passion and grow it into a business. She's talking to the teller next to her. She's asking questions of them. She's got that innate confidence. She's gonna be a leader. And I think that I did have that confidence when I was younger. You know, I would like talking to people. I like to joke with people. I wasn't shy. I asked questions. I was always the but why kid that my parents were like, oh my God, just go to sleep, you know? So I feel like you have those traits, you're born with them, and then you have to shape them into leadership. When I started my law firm, I was not a leader. No, I'm still working at being a leader. I've hired business coaches when I was able to start affording them, and they pick apart my leadership every single day. I had a business coach appointment yesterday, and I just, you know, I tell her my numbers, tell her all the data, the stats, how are we performing, and then I tell her what are our pain points, and she's like, well, why are you doing this? And why aren't you doing that? How are you gonna solve this? So it's like constantly like strength training. It's like you're developing that muscle over and over again through trial and error. So I feel like anybody can become a leader. You just have to really keep practicing.
And being the boss is very different than being the leader, correct?
I think so too. You definitely have to earn respect. I don't think that everybody necessarily respects a boss, you know, but they do respect a leader. When you say something, they respect that you've thought about it, you've analyzed it, there's good reason why you're asking them to do something a certain way. I think just being a boss is like a title, like a fancy title that a lot of people like to have, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you can create a team, create a culture, create clients who entrust you when they're at their worst points of life. I feel like those are all the qualities that a leader really has. A boss is just like, kind of like a social media title. Boss babe, you know, what does that really mean?
I'm not sure on that. I can't answer that. Hopefully it's just rhetorical.
It's just a title.
Just throw that out there. Last question on leadership, I think, is as you expand your business and as Elm Law Group grows, do you foresee or do you see in the future like taking steps back and empowering people to be the leaders within different parts of that?
Yep. I asked my intake specialist who's here, I don't know if it was the last week or the week before, we went to lunch, and I was like, what do you want to do, like in this law firm? Like, what do you want to aspire to? And he told me what his goals were, and it's like, okay, like we're going to make that happen. I want to see people that are on my team develop themselves professionally so that they can be proud of where they're at. We can hire other people to take on their roles, but I want to give them whatever springboard I can to launch into the greatness that they aspire to be. Why? Because they're going to feel really good about themselves. When they feel good about themselves, they're going to bring that to work. It's going to feed that energy within our firm, within our culture, within our clients. So I never feel like I ever want to stifle anyone. I want them to just grow and prosper, and however I can help them do that, that's really important to me.
Okay, so, and going beyond COVID, because that's a world of itself in starting your firm. I actually started mine in 2008 when.
Okay, the economic downfall.
Yeah, it was a good time for a middle-aged guy to start a firm on his own. But to your story, in a challenge you've had, can you share an example of when it got real tough and were you able to reach out to get help? Was it something you felt you had to fix yourself? How did you get through the valleys to get to the peaks?
We're in it right now. We are in an industry, Arizona, Phoenix is probably the most competitive personal injury space in the United States. That's number one. Number two, we have relaxed our rules that we allow non-lawyers to own law firms. We're one of few states that allow this. This is like a trial period. So what's happening? We've got California firms coming. We've got Vegas firms coming. We've got anyone and anyone that has a law firm somewhere near this geographical area just coming in. So for me, who's been in personal injury for a while now, I'm noticing the tide is shifting. And I'm thinking, we got to do something different. We've got to advertise different. Those organic referrals that I previously was able to get, no problem. I didn't even worry about it. The phone was just constantly ringing. Constantly somebody was coming my way. It gets tougher. And so you have to pivot. You have to figure out different plans. So with that, we're trying different things. We're really testing to see where did our referrals come from last year, measuring every single case that came in. How are we going to nurture those referrals, make sure that they keep sending us business, we're staying top of mind. Marketing, how are we going to be aggressive with our marketing? How are we not going to be the, person in front of the bookcase with our arms crossed that we've seen 1,000 times before and is so boring? We got to shoot new content. We got to shoot something that's really shocking, funny, different. So it's like constantly evolving and changing is super important. And we're in the thick of it. My team can tell you, we're in the thick of it.
Promise me you don't ever do those courtroom scenes like, was it Demopolis law?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You don't do that, we're okay. You start doing those.
He's from Vegas. He's a competitor from Vegas. So it's like, damn, that guy's got a lot of money. How do I compete against him? So you just have to find different ways to just be competitive against people that got money for days.
Yeah. And that small business, when you are the smaller fish in the pond, how do you, if you don't have the employees, the staff, you've got an amazing staff. If you don't have that with you, how do you figure out who you can trust to really give you the good advice? Because there were probably some people around you who said you're going to fail when you started. And you can't go to them. So how do you find the person that's going to support you and build you up?
I think that you have to get comfortable trusting your own gut to begin with. Like, I hired these coaches and I thought, yeah, she's got a successful law firm in Atlanta. She's going to just give me her playbook and I'm going to do everything she did and replicate it here and I'm going to be just as successful as she is. And that's not the case, and sometimes they give you bad advice, and I've tried some things that they've told me and it's like, that just doesn't work in my market. So I have become very comfortable in tuning out noise and becoming very in tune with my gut. When my gut says something is off, it generally is. Like we had an SEO vendor that we hired last year. He completely redesigned our website, which I think looks great, but it wasn't performing the way I wanted it to. And SEO is tough because you have to give it some time to actually make headway. But my gut said, man, I don't think these people are doing what they're supposed to be doing. And I was right, because I went to other SEO vendors, I had them look at my site, totally different companies, and they all have the same consensus. The website looks good, but it kind of sucks. So my gut was right there. So I think you have to drown out the noise, really listen to your gut, and usually you're right. You know what's right.
And if you were going to give advice to someone who's thinking, this is the year I'm going to take off and start my business, what advice would you, other than talking to a lawyer, of course, what advice would you give them?
Start now. You're never ready, ever. You're never ready to start a business. You're never ready to be a parent. You're just never ready. There's never a perfect time. The longer you wait, the worse it is. You could already start your social media page. You could already start your Google My Business page. You could already start getting reviews. That's traction. So time spent creating that perfect business plan that's all buttoned up, and making sure everything is completely perfect in that, you're just burning time and wasting time. So I think that in some sense for me, while it seemed like a curse at the time to start a new law firm while I was in the middle of a divorce, it was a blessing because it propelled me to act. Like I had no choice. I had to. If you're just sitting on the sideline waiting for that perfect time, it's just never going to come, ever.
Any questions? This is the day y'all are quiet. My goodness.
Never quiet if I'm here. I'm personally, sometimes I really struggle with the idea of, well, not exactly giving up, but self-doubt. How do we deal with that?
Man, there's a lot of self-doubt.
You just said it.
Mindset is so important. I listen to podcasts constantly. Like, I really don't listen to a ton of music. I do, but when I'm working out, it's podcasts. And it's those mindset podcasts because if you think it, you're going to believe it, and it's going to manifest into your life. And so you have to really eradicate that self-doubt. You got to shut the noise off on the naysayers. A lot of people are going to say things that you can't, that you won't, that you don't know how. Again, that's from their own insecurity, or they don't want to see you grow, outgrow them. Friends, family, I've experienced both. I even sometimes have my own parents saying like, we just don't know, if this is a really good idea for you. This is a lot of attorneys out there that are on billboards advertising. How are you going to compete with them? And it's like, dang, like, I've been doing this for a while now. We've got a billboard up too, and we're competing. And, so you just really have to believe in yourself. It's like relentless. Like, I will not fail. Absolutely will not fail. I believe that. Like, I will claw my way out. There is no plan B. And that's what you really, truly have to believe. And the only person that can make you believe that is yourself. So what you consume, media, music, podcasts, friends, conversations, like you have to filter out the BS that's going to make you doubt yourself. So I've had to cut friends off that drained my energy, that wanted to keep me small because they wanted to just like commiserate in this victim mindset. It's like, no, we're not going to lunch. We're not going to dinner. We're doing different things. Surround yourself with people that are doing it already. I always want to put myself in rooms with people who are better than me. Let me be the small fish. Get on social media, start finding them, whatever your industry is. If they're in a different state and they're doing something similar to what you want to start business-wise, that immediately you don't have them as your competition. They're not in your state, at least for my industry. So I can talk to other female mother attorneys in California, Colorado, and create a text chain with them and say, hey, like, who do you like for this? I'm trying this. This is not working. Have you guys run ads on Meta? What do you think about that? Automatically, the competition and that layer of, oh, I can't share my trade secrets with you because you're my competitor. Sometimes when you go out of state, I feel like that dissipates, at least in my industry. So I would reach out to people. I've never turned anyone down that's reached out to me. I don't feel that, if I've seen their message, I've read their message, hey, let's go grab lunch, let's get coffee. Can you recommend this? I always am helping. So you'd be surprised. Just ask. The worst they can do is ignore or say no.
And let's spin into that networking thing. I'll get you one side. And you kind of answered it, but I want to go a little deeper in it. People like to help. I mean, success breeds success. And should they all feel comfortable, be brave enough to just start reaching out, be it on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, whatever page, saying, hey, I'm a student at GCC. I want to do what you do. Can we have coffee? Can we have a Zoom call? Whatever to connect. Is that, if as a professional, what would you do if you received that in your messages?
I had a girl, I feel like video is so key. I had a girl that filmed herself, and she was like, "Hi, I just wanted to reach out to you. I'm local here in Arizona, and I think we might have used the same photographer for our headshots," which we did. "And, I would just really love to connect with you. Are you available for a Zoom?" That to me was so memorable because nobody sends a video, ever. Like, I think I've received maybe 2 videos ever, one from a realtor, one from her. And we had our Zoom, and I was supposed to shoot a podcast the following day, and our guest canceled. And after that Zoom, I was like, oh no, our guest canceled. I reached out to her. I had just met her on Zoom through her video-initiated DM. Said, "Hey, what are you doing on Thursday, tomorrow? We've got a podcast guest that canceled. Would you be willing to come?" She showed up and she was on the podcast. So it's like, I feel if you send someone a video DM, that automatically is going to elevate you and be memorable. And how do you ignore that? Like, I can't just leave her unseen. She just shot a video of herself, sent it to me, was so genuine and so nice. I felt compelled to respond to her.
Forgot it.
Anybody else? Okay, so networking / marketing. You've got, like you said, the most competitive between grocery stores and personal injury lawyers. Phoenix is a unique market. Without being on 100 billboards, without being on morning TV commercials or sponsoring the traffic or the weather, how do you create that uniqueness that's you? Where do you go? Like, where do you spend your time when it's on the office building your brand? If that makes sense.
I'm trying to network with people in my industry who I call power partners that can send me business. So doctors, chiropractors, insurance agents, anyone that's in the community that I feel like would be a good fit that we would be able to do business with. Also, just trying to get out into the community. I have a lot of people that find success leaving their law firm flyers at like tire shops, oil change shops, coffee shops that are mom and pop, restaurants. You would be amazed as to how much business they get. And I think that's something that I probably forgot. And like, you're always like trying to compete with these big dogs. They got all the billboards, like, we got to do what they do. No, it's like going back to the original model of my business, which was that organic community outreach. We're beefing that up all over again because I feel like that's where we got the best cases. It was the lowest cost of acquisition per case. So just like really never forgetting those roots and just always nurturing those roots while testing maybe different marketing channels. But just in your community, I mean, people that you go to school with, if you go to church, I don't know, if you're a part of any kind of organization, if you're sitting at a restaurant, making sure you know who the waiter's name is or the owner, hey, how's it going? Just striking up a conversation with them. I feel like that is so valuable. I see that really have a lot of reach.
And how important is it that you're the same person essentially 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? I mean, you don't change for what you're doing up here versus what you're doing when you walk into your car. You don't have the camera image and then the real Gordi. There's just one Gordi. So how important is that authentic self in the success of your business and the success of your company?
I think it's so important, especially when you're building a brand. Like my brand colors, that's generally what I wear. It's black, white, and red. I'm generally going to be wearing something like that. I think that if you saw me wearing like peach or yellow, you're going to be kind of like, oh, that's not really her, So I think that you just kind of live, breathe, and eat it. That is my brand. That's constantly in me. And it's really important. The authenticity piece of it, I tell real stories on Instagram. So I'll say things that happen. I'll drop a swear word 2, 3, 10 in there. And I think that people like it. Sometimes I wonder, and I'm like, like my priest's wife's watching this. Maybe I shouldn't have that on there. But people come forward, and we had a couple of doctors last week say, man, I just love those stories where you just like drop a bomb, And I'm like, okay, like he likes it. I think it shows that you're authentic. If you're upset about something, you have like a rant, we love watching that stuff. Like, damn, she's pissed off. What made her mad? Just kind of, you feel you're on the journey with that person. You're in the day-to-day, you're in the trench with them. So I feel like sharing that and those stories is so much better than the whole polished content that's like, like a news anchor.
So you were meant to be a gaucho. Look at all the colors right there.
Yeah, I love your colors.
Okay, so I told you I'm an artist, right?
Yeah.
I make my own music. And we were talking about networking and teams. So I wanted to ask about this. Because starting out, I have to do everything alone. And I know that I can't keep doing that because I'm competing against teams that are backing up different artists, everything else. When you started, did you have anybody? Where did you find somebody if you had someone? Who backs you up? A support system? How do you create that? 5 questions in one, but
I think that you do have to sometimes lean like on family, friends, if you have someone, a close circle that you can trust, you can lean on to bounce ideas off of. That was helpful to me, not having confidence shooting content and posting on social media. Sometimes I would send it to my friends that I trusted, that I've had since college. And I'm like, hey, is this cringe? Is this okay? And they would give you the confidence, like, oh, it looks great, post it, or change this, or say something like this. That was helpful to me. I think also you have to be creative when it comes to hiring. It's really hard to hire someone and give them like a salary and give them like a 401k and a health insurance plan. I've seen law firms be super successful finding virtual help through different avenues like Upwork, people that can work at a cheaper rate. I'm talking some people in other countries are doing stuff for like $3, $4, $5 an hour. We actually have someone helping us with our website. We paid $90,000 for the website that didn't perform just to look fancy. We found someone that's infinitely cheaper, that's in another country, that's made our website go higher on the ranking within 6 weeks, and they're at a fraction of the cost. So I think that thinking outside the box, finding someone virtual to help, whatever industry need you have for that can be really helpful, especially if you don't have a big budget with these teams, I saw a reel with Alex Cooper this morning. She did a podcast. She talked about how she didn't have those big teams at first, and like how she started small and how it was hard for her to trust people, especially like when she signed that Spotify deal. What her managers and her attorneys were saying was, yeah, why don't you like funnel that money over to our bank account so we can cut our percentage out, and then we're gonna give you your residuals, what you're supposed to get. And she was like, no, the money's gonna hit my account. I'm gonna pay you your fee. I'm not gonna let you get clout off of my earnings so you can advertise it, earn interest on it. So I think it's just like, even if you don't have that big team, she still was smart and she knew that she wasn't gonna be led astray, so.
When you started small, I know you say start small, but we have a lot of ideas in our head, and so we're kind of all over the place. We have to write them down. Do you have a strategy or an example of how you started small for them? What did you actually focus on first? And then as far as focus goes, we try to focus on a lot of things, which makes us not an expert because we're doing our hands and feet and everything. So what can you tell them about focusing too when they first start?
I definitely started small. I went from a 7-figure law firm to only having 4 cases. So I only was able to have 4 clients that were coming my way. All the other clients were taken to and kept at the other law firm. So I focused on servicing those clients the best I could. I put my heart and soul in making sure that I got the max settlements I could for them, the best results, establishing a workable relationship with them where they would send future family, friends my way. The other thing is like as a visionary entrepreneur, you have so many ideas. Like I'm thinking 3 o'clock in the morning, like, yeah, we should do this and we can do that, we can do this. And my COO is a testament to that because he's like, whoa, slow down. Put it on a list, write it down, let's prioritize it, because you really do have a lot of ideas. It's so easy to get distracted, finish 20% of this piece, 60% of this task, and like you've done nothing really. So he's really big on, let's put it down on paper, let's list it out, let's prioritize it. Maybe it's not a goal for this quarter or this month. Maybe this is hyper priority right now, we need to focus on that. So I feel like seeing that, for me, I'm a visual learner in person, I need to have it on a list for me to really focus. Yeah.
Okay, so 2 questions, or I guess, questions. One, what are your goals for the next 1 to 3 years? And 2, can you brag on where you are right now? Talk to us about the new office you've got open, that you are putting billboards out there. How can everyone follow you? So give us a little bit about today and tell us where you hope to be.
All right. What was the first question? I just forgot for a second.
That makes 2 of us.
Sorry.
Where are you going to grow? But
Oh.
where, because you just had the
Okay.
basically grand opening of your new building.
Yeah, yeah.
So talk about all that, how to connect,
Sure.
and where's the future?
So we're really excited. We're constantly growing. Our growth last year was 56%. And so we are constantly growing. We built our team up probably over the last year or so, where I feel like everyone has a designated role and job and they handle it. And it's really nice to know exactly how everything is going to be pieced together. We just put up our new billboard, our first billboard on the 202 Red Mountain Freeway heading west as you're approaching 52nd Street. So you just pass Sky Harbor Airport and you've got Camelback Mountain in the back. That was really exciting. If you look around on the billboards, unless you're a wife, generally not going to find a female personal injury attorney on a billboard. So I was really excited to be probably the only female personal injury lawyer up on a billboard by herself. You know, that was really exciting for me. And what did that do? That gave brand awareness to us. We know that it's not going to be a direct acquisition to leads, meaning like they're not going to see the billboard today and like call us tomorrow. It's a brand recognition thing. We've already had partnerships where people have seen the billboard and they might be a criminal defense firm and said, hey, let's meet together. Like we had lunch last week. Why don't you send us your criminal cases that come our way? We get calls for all kinds of stuff. And we'll send you our personal injury cases. So I thought that was a great relationship just because they saw our billboard. We renovated our office. I felt like it looked a little dingy and not really branded. And I wanted like our logo everywhere and I wanted it fresh and crisp. I feel like your environment dictates just everything, your mood and everything. So I make sure my house is really not cluttered. I make sure that my office is not cluttered. I like clean lines. Boxes are not just shoved in the corner. We really made an effort to make sure that when people come into the office, they feel special. And we implemented like a Four Seasons Ritz-Carlton experience. They come in, they see the nice fresh office. We offer them like Stiller sparkling water. They come in, they see their name on the TV. When they come get the settlement check, we offer them cookies. We give them all of the 5-star treatment so that they really truly feel like we care about them. And it's so memorable. Like when you see your name, I can't tell you how many times people have taken their phone out, photographed it, made a comment about it. So it's just like being different, like giving that extra 10% that someone else maybe in your competitors won't put that effort in. If you put that extra 10%, that goes so long. I mean, it just, people remember it. And so just a lot of growth and change and making sure that we really build our brand. We're active on social media. You can follow me at Lawyer Gordi, Gordi is how you spell Gordi. And I'll share all kinds of stuff on there, law-related things, personal things, time out with my kids, shopping, whatever. I try to make it to be fun content, personable content, relatable content. We also have our firm's page. It's at Elm Law Group. Elm is ELMM. And same, trying to post legal content that people are going to find helpful and resourceful. We got our new website up, which is a refresh with again, all branded, red, black, white. It was super important for it to be really visually appealing to me. Thank goodness now it's functioning, starting to function better and perform better. So, I mean, I'm looking to just beat these guys. I want to be the top pick. I want people to get sick and tired of going to the personal injury firms where they just get shuffled through the process and treated like a case and not a human. I want to give them that human touch. I want them to feel important to us because they are. And I just want to beat these billboard guys to a pulp and give them the type of law firm that I started and that I think can have longevity and what people really want.
I was just wondering, I have my own baking business, but I just wanted to ask you, were you ever afraid of failing? Or if you were, what did you do to get yourself out of that mindset?
For sure. I think we can be our biggest enemies, mindset-wise sometimes. You have that self-doubt. Again, I would just say you just be relentless. I just look at people that are doing it, and I'm like, why can they do it and I can't? They're not better than me. Their message and marketing is not better than mine. They just look like everyone else. It's not really anything different, anything out of the ordinary. So it's like if they're already successful doing it kind of the same way everyone else did, if you just put like that 10% extra spin on it and make it unique as to you, I feel like that definitely is going to propel you to make you successful.
And before we close, we'll get you one. That extra 10%, most of the time, it doesn't cost anything, does it?
No, it's effort, and what it is it's diligence. It's that first thing that I had mentioned, diligence. Most people are not willing to be consistent or diligent. They're like gonna throw in the towel 75% of the way in, 80% of the way in. They don't even show up. People don't even show up. Like I'll go to these conferences and people will buy tickets and you can see tons of empty seats there. And generally the people that are speaking at conferences are the people you want to talk to. They're people that can refer cases to you, maybe give you some business development. They're successful. Like I'm in the front, raising my hand, asking questions like you are, because you're going to be memorable to them. So I just feel like a lot of people aren't consistent. They don't follow through. You meet someone at a networking event, you email them the next day or that same day, hey, it was so great to meet you. I'm really happy that you're in my network. I really look forward to us being able to do business together or whatever, set up a coffee. I just feel like people aren't willing to go that extra mile. They're too distracted, too much going on. We got the social media, the scrolling, like people just don't tie the bow. And I feel like that makes all the difference.
Okay, so earlier you had mentioned cutting people off that weren't supporting your best interest, and you talked about your parents as well. So I was wondering, there's obviously going to be feedback that you're going to end up getting from other people, and when do you realize that they're looking after you in your best interest, or if they do have ulterior motives? How do you navigate through that?
I think, I feel bad for my parents. They're entrepreneurs and they're so great. I think what happened is, as a kid, you you idolize your parents. They're like, for me, they were my heroes. But there came a point in time where I was like, geez, I think that they're getting older and they don't really understand how this industry works. And they're not the best people to ask business advice from because they're getting older and this is not their industry. So that was one, just coming to that realization that I needed to have different advisors that I sought out to, and that was people that were more successful than me in my industry. The test on how to know when to cut the people off, and I've had to do this with friends, when you have something good that happens to you, what's their reaction? If they're not happy for you, if they don't want to hear it, if they're like, oh yeah, that's fine, yeah, that's nice, anyhow, and then they bring the conversation back to themselves, get rid of those people. Get rid of those people. I had a friend that I was super close with. We resonated on so many things. 2 single moms, we're in this fight together. I was good when I was in the gutter, starting. as I started to rise, little things, you know, I don't know, buying a new car for myself after I was driving a beater for years. She didn't want to look at it, you know, it was like, she's just like, oh, yeah, okay, okay, you know, I didn't really notice it there. And it's just, you start noticing that the more you rise, the more opportunities you get, the more excitement you have over things that are happening for you. If they're not meeting you with like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy, that's so great, those are not your people. It's hard, but it's true.
And I think that's a great place to let you kind of get ready to wrap up. But it's so much easier to lift others up than to not do so. So leave us, I'm going to give you the last couple minutes to inspire them with words of wisdom, or share your favorite moronic Monday law. Let's have a little bit of fun, a little bit of inspiration, and then we will definitely stand up and cheer for you. Thank you very much for what you've done today.
You are the person that's going to prevent you from being successful. You are. So if you think you can't, if you doubt, if you don't want to start, if you're afraid, you're going to not be successful, because that's what you think, you eat, you breathe, you manifest that. So you have to surround yourself with people who are already doing what you want to do. I mean, look at Bad Bunny, how he started. He was packing groceries, putting his stuff up on SoundCloud to go to perform at the Super Bowl. If that's not like a 180 and what's possible for someone, look at that. That example in and of itself to me is you can do whatever you want. Super competitive industry, he's Latino, you know, all of these things, right, that he could say negative, or setback. He did not allow that to keep him from where he was meant to be. So I would say you just have to really work on your mindset, whether that's surrounding yourself with people that are going to lift you up, podcasts, coaches, friends, whoever it is. That is so important. Any successful business owner has like a story where, you know, they rose from not a lot of greatness to something amazing, and it's because they were delusional in their idea of what they could achieve. Think about that Amazon meme where they show where Amazon got started in like a garage. How crazy is that, right? Did they have a business plan? No, probably not. They were in a garage. So when you think of that, it's just, it's limitless. It truly is.
Real fast.
I don't even need that. What's a good podcast that you could offer them that they could start listening to maybe that might catch their attention, point them in the right direction?
Wow, I've got so many. A lot of mine are industry specific, so I would definitely suggest going to your industry. If someone has a podcast in that area, I would listen to what those experts are talking about. So I've got those. I like to listen. I have Abby Medcalf. She is a psychiatrist, and she works on mindset. She talks about how to have successful relationships with people, whether that's friends, family, coworkers, you know, just how to really have boundaries around yourself so that you can do what you need to do and not have all this turmoil in how you communicate with people or little things that really shouldn't be this huge thing. She really teaches you how to set those boundaries. I feel like that's really important. So I really like her. She's Medcalf. I love her podcasts.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you.
And thank you all, everybody. Show up April 8th, and if you are part of our Innovation Challenge, where you are submitting an idea, make sure you work on that idea because it needs to be submitted March 25th. So let's do that, and thank you again for coming.
We also have swag at the back table, so feel free to grab swag. Feel free to give us a Google review. This is part of being a business owner, is Google reviews. If you don't have a My Business page on Google, get started.